So with chapter 2,
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of a thing I had. I never knew Elijah parted water, and then Elisha did it later.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yep. Well, Elisha does a lot of the same stuff that Elijah did, and he does twice as many miracles as Elijah.
He said, I want double your
A
glory.
double portion
Yeah.
of your spirit.
Spirit.
And I don't know if that's now. Of course, there's probably there's a lot of stuff that they did that's not written here,
Right.
You asked about the authorship of First and Second Kings. We don't really know who the authors were.
Right. Okay.
They could have been probably a variety of people.
Yeah, just scribes in Israel at the time.
Right. And you asked about like First and Second Chronicles. When they're referring to other books, they're not referring to First and Second Chronicles.
Okay.
Not the ones that we have.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't actually, before we even jump to 2, I don't think I answered that question before, is that there is, like, this is written before the Babylonian captivity.
Right.
First and Second Chronicles is written after the Babylonian captivity.
that makes sense.
And so there's other books of the histories that are floating around that we just don't have anymore.
Okay.
They're floating around. We don't have them.
And so
they're referencing them.
I guess it's kind of using chronicles as a word for stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not the same chronicles that we have.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Chronicles is written by the exiles who returned. This is written by people who lived before the exile and then up until the exile. It's probably put together by a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
And
now, do we have any books from when they were in exile?
Well, sure, Daniel,
Okay.
Ezekiel, Jeremiah's the beginning of it.
Ezekiel,
Esther,
that's right. Yeah.
right? Yeah, there's a few of them.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we've got the return from Ezra and Nehemiah returning from exile.
Right.
And then you get some of the Zephaniah, some of the prophets are, going to be talking about the return of the exiles.
Okay.
Zechariah, Haggai, Malachi, I mean, those are all, they're returning.
Right.
And so yeah, there's a few that are they're before, during, and after, but the other books that are referred to here, we don't have them anymore. So it can't be referring to the chronicles that we have because the chronicles we have weren't written yet.
Yeah.
Right?
I know what you mean.
And I mean, it could have been a later editor came back and added them in, but if you see the references, isn't this what they did more written in the book of Chronicles, and then you go back and it's like, no, it's not.
Right.
So
yeah.
it must be a different book
Yeah.
you're talking
Well,
about.
and then even honestly speaking, you could call Kings, I guess, in a way, the Chronicles of the Kings.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there are other books that are throughout the histories, if you pay close attention. See, we don't talk, it's never going to be a Sunday school story or something, but there are other books that are referred to in the Old Testament that we just don't have anymore.
Right.
As if and they're referred to as if people know what they are.
Yeah.
And we just don't have them.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would be interesting to
It would be
learn that.
very interesting.
Oh, yeah. We'd have to do a podcast on that.
Well, yeah. And you see that in the New Testament too. Like Paul, I would just say, he references a letter to the Laodiceans, and
Yeah.
wants that letter shared with the churches, and we don't have that one. So guess
Okay.
what happens later on in history? Someone writes a letter from Paul to the
Okay,
Laodiceans.
yeah.
Let's
That
make
makes
it
sense.
up, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing always happens. So
So going into chapter 3.
wait, 2. We didn't do 2 yet.
Oh no, I was just talking about Elijah parting his water.
Oh,
parting
yeah,
the water,
okay.
and then Elisha doing so as well.
Yeah. Well, any thoughts about the being taken up into heaven?
Well, I asked who else was taken by a chariot of fire.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotcha. Yep.
Well,
Yep.
also, I had a question. What is his mantle, Elijah's mantle, that he used to split the water?
Well, it's like his clothing.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, because doesn't he put it on? He puts it on Elisha.
I'm telling you, it was that translation that I
Yeah,
was reading
yeah,
because
okay,
it called
yeah,
it
yeah.
a mantle, but when I hear mantle, I think of like something above a fireplace.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
what verse does he do that? Oh, here it is in verse 8, 2 verse 8. Then Elijah took his cloak and rolled it up and struck the water, and the water was parted to the one side and to the other, till the two of them could go over on dry ground.
Okay.
So yeah, they both do that, and then there's a thing with later on that Elisha's going to do with the axe head. He lifts. He's going to. So yeah, they for whatever reason, God seems to like the parting of water.
Right. Well, if you don't have a boat, that's the only way you can get across.
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, and it's interesting because Moses parts water,
Right.
Joshua parts water.
Joshua
Af-
parts.
Well, the Jordan River's in its flood stage, and he parts the water for them to walk through
Okay.
and then go on to Jericho when they enter the Promised Land.
See, I didn't know that.
Okay, so he
I need
parts
to catch
the
up a
water.
little bit.
Yep, and it's funny because they've got the Ark of the Covenant, and he says that the priests they have to when their feet touch the water, then it'll be parted.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And it's like flood stage. It's like it's this powerful river coming through at that point. And so, all right. So now you see Elijah parting water. You see Elisha with the water. What about Jesus? Does he part water?
He walks on water.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He walks on water.
Okay.
He calms a storm.
Oh,
he calms
so,
the chaos.
yeah.
He walks on the water. He changes water into wine.
Right.
Right. So like they're not doing that kind of thing.
Right.
You know,
They still gotta walk on the land.
Yeah, that's right. They are. He is like super all powerful. Can
That's kinda crazy
One
you just
ups
put
him in
that.
so many ways regularly.
Yeah.
Right. Shows that he is not just like a Moses or a Joshua or an Elijah or Elisha. This is the actual creator has
Right.
come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I got a few more here.
Okay.
So this is in 13. When Elisha went to Jehoram, the king after. I want to say the king after the king who didn't send the
Give me a
lamb.
verse.
We're in chapter 3 now.
Oh, chapter 3.
13.
Okay. 3:13. Yeah. Okay. Well, there's the king of
Jehoshaphat.
Jehoshaphat. It was Jehoram and Jehoshaphat.
Okay.
And we dealt with Jehoshaphat at the end of 1 Kings, right?
So it was okay. Yeah, I got it now. So Elisha said to the king of Israel, "What do we have to do with each other? Go to the prophets of your father and the prophets of your mother." "No," the king of Israel answered, "because it was the Lord who called us 3 kings together to hand us over to Moab." Did Elisha not want to talk to the king of Israel because of?
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, Israel's just gone.
Yeah.
They're just. But go up to verse 9. I think that's the setting for it, and that's why you see. So,
Okay.
all right. So they've got problems with Moab.
Right.
It's actually
'cause
closer to
Moab wouldn't
Judah.
send the 1,000 lambs or 100,000 lambs.
Yeah.
100,000 pounds of wool.
Yeah, that's right. So now Mesha, king of Moab, and this is verse 4 now, was a sheep breeder, and he had to deliver to the king of Israel 100,000 lambs and the wool of 100,000 rams. But when Ahab died, the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. So this happens all the time. I was afraid of your dad. I'm not afraid of you.
Right, yeah.
And so I'm not going to send this to you. And this is like as tribute. So King Jehoram marched out of Samaria at that time and mustered all Israel, and he went and sent word to Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. So now you see the interaction a little bit between Israel and Judah.
Right.
Remember, they're different kingdoms at this point, and they have a shared history, obviously. They're the same people. They've inherited the same history.
Right.
But there's bad blood between them.
Yeah.
There has been for, at this point, I don't know, 100 years or so, more.
Okay.
Over 100 years of bad blood. And Moab is to the south, like to the southeast. So it's
Okay.
closer to Judah.
Right.
Okay. And so because of this, the king Jehoram, king of Israel, wants to talk to Jehoshaphat, king of Judah.
Right.
So he's got a reason to. The king of Moab has rebelled against me. Will you go with me to battle against Moab? So are we going to be on the same team this time?
Right,
Like
yeah.
they can play on the same team sometimes.
They're like brothers.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They are very much
Honestly,
like brothers. And he said, "I will go. I am as you are. My people as your people. My horses as your horses." Then he said, "By which way shall we march?" Jehoram answered, "By the way of the wilderness of Edom." Now, we really haven't had a whole lot of interaction here with the southern kingdom of Judah.
Right.
Right? I mean, the whole narrative has really been Elijah and the northern kingdom.
Right.
And the southern kingdom, after the whole thing with Rehoboam and the split, we've got a little bit of information about the change of the monarchies,
Right.
but beyond that, not a whole lot.
Yeah.
It just has so now we're seeing the Southern Kingdom kind of back into play in the narrative here. So and before with David and Saul, that was like all in the Southern Kingdom.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
The whole narrative, and even with Solomon.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to the Northern Kingdom, but the focus is in Jerusalem,
Right.
which is in the Southern Kingdom. So the king of Israel went with the king of Judah and the king of Edom. And remember, Edom is also a relative.
Okay.
Right? Those are the descendants of Esau.
All right. Okay.
So they're very distant relatives.
So that's not a part of Israel, though.
It's not a part of
okay,
Israel
I got it.
because
It's
Jacob
Jacob.
and Esau are brothers, and Jacob's name is Israel.
Right.
So this is kind of like a weird great uncle situation.
Yeah.
Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th cousins kind of
Yeah.
a thing. All right. So the king of Israel went with the king of Judah and the king of Edom, and when they had made a circuitous march of 7 days, kind of like that's like, isn't that what they do with Jericho? Right, they march around
Right.
the circuitous, means to march in a circle for 7 days. There was no water for the army of the animals that followed them. Then the king of Israel said, "Alas, the Lord has called these 3 kings to give them into the hand of Moab." Okay, so he's like, "Oh, we're gonna wear ourselves out. We're gonna wear our armies out. If we keep doing this, Moab is gonna take us all,
Right.
all 3 of our armies." And Jehoshaphat said, "Is there no prophet of the Lord here, through whom we may inquire of the Lord?" So Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, is saying, we got to talk to him. See, Jehoshaphat believes in Yahweh.
Right. Yeah.
Right? We need a prophet of Yahweh here. And of course, the Northern Kingdom is like, we don't do Yahweh anymore. Edom is kind of like, we don't really do Yahweh. And Jehoshaphat is, we need a Yahweh prophet. Okay? Then one of the king of Israel's servants answered,
Servant.
says, "Elisha, the son of Shaphat, is here."
He's probably like, no, he's not.
Right? Who poured water on the hands of Elijah. He was Elijah's servant. Maybe Elisha can do something.
Right.
And Jehoshaphat said, "The word of the Lord is with him." I know that guy. Yeah, you're right. He's one of the good guys. And the king of Israel's going, no, this guy has these people have wreaked havoc on my family. I do not like them.
Now
Okay?
is Jehoram, is that what is it? Azariah? Jehoram, is that Azariah's son?
Let's see. Jehoram is.
Ahaziah.
Let's see. Jehoram. Yes. Ahaziah. Yeah, that's
Okay,
Jehoram.
yeah.
Yes. So
he's like, you killed my dad. Or told my dad he was gonna die.
Yeah, well, but it's Elisha now instead of Elijah.
Oh, okay, yeah, it was Elijah.
So yeah, it's like you've got the granddad Ahab, then the father Ahaziah, and now the grandson Jehoram.
Right.
And then in the meantime, you got Elijah, who the granddad and the dad did not like, and now Elijah's servant Elisha.
Right.
So you've got kind of this generational kind of adoptive son on one side and grandchild,
Yeah, like
generation,
like a family
that,
feud.
They do not like each other. So, anyway, then Elisha said to the king of Israel. So they call Elisha, right? And he says, "What have I to do with you? Go to the prophets of your father and to the prophets of your mother." But the king of Israel said to him, "No, it is the Lord who has called these 3 kings to give them into the hand of Moab." And Elisha said, "As the Lord of hosts lives, before whom I stand, were it not that I have regard for Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, I would neither look at you nor see you." Okay? And so then they proceed, right?
Right.
But it's like, you're lucky that you're with a king that I actually like.
Right.
So, yeah, no, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Yeah, for sure.